My name is Michelle. I'm 15 years old.
15? It's weird to me that people called Michelle were like kids once. I feel like Michelle is such like a mature woman name. Like my best friend's literally called Michelle. She's 21. I can't believe she was a baby once.
What would you do if you woke up one day, opened your eyes, and realized that you can't see anything no more?
Literally implode. That would be very bad.
I grew up with my parents in a house with a large garden and a swing. My father spent most of his time at work, so all day I was only with my mother. She did not leave me.
Why is she so tall?
That's disproportionate, right? That kid would have to be like 2 foot. Wait, she's just... Okay, never mind.
All corners of the furniture in our house were covered with special foam rubber, and the floor was covered with soft, fluffy carpets. And there was no question of playing in the garden. I spent much time looking out of the window at the swing in the yard.
Honestly, I kind of grew up in a place where they would like leave the like plastic coverings on the furniture so that it wouldn't get like dirty, but it's like, why did you buy it? And like, if we weren't planning on, using it.
But Mom was categorical. My only way to get a breath of freedom was when Mom fell asleep. She slept very firmly. It seems to me that even a herd of elephants could not wake her.
Me and our mother have a lot in common. Believe me, nothing will wake me up, and if you do happen to wake me up, I'll kill you.
And in the future, it played a cruel joke with her. Once, on my 4th birthday, when both Mom and Dad were at home preparing gifts for me, I noticed that the front door was opened. That was my chance. So I just ran out into the street and immediately ran to the swing. It turned out that they were higher than I could reach.
Why was there just a swing in the street? I have a lot of questions. Where do they live? Why is she not allowed outside? Why have they foam wrapped all of the furniture? She seems old enough to not poke herself in the eye with a doorknob,
But I managed to climb on them. My feet did not touch the ground, but I swayed more and more.
These seem like minor details.
To be a bird and spread my arms like wings. That was a mistake. I fell and it darkened in my eyes. I remember this day in such details because it was the last day I could see.
Isn't the floor underneath swings usually sand? Something soft, if you fall you'll be okay. I don't know, seems a little dramatic.
When I woke up, it was very dark. Later, my mother said that I asked her to turn on the light. She burst into tears and said that the light was already on, and I did not see anything because I was blind after the blow. I didn't understand what that meant. Mom said that I have a rare disease of the lens of the eye, heltatitis. It has not been studied much, and therefore no medicine exists for it. This is a congenital disease, but it intensified after a strong blow. Mom said that the eyes during this illness are very weak, and even the slightest draft or a drop in temperature can cause severe inflammation, and I can lose my sight forever.
Is this a real thing, or are they making this up? Because this sounds very dramatic, and as someone who is a big hypochondriac, I am now fearful.
I was a child, and it scared me very much. But fortunately, according to the parents, this process can be taken under control. They bought a special blindfold, which was very tight to the eyes and in such a way maintained the same temperature. Mom did not stop calming me down. She came up with fairy tales about blind princesses, in whom the handsome prince fell in love and everything was fine with them. I gradually got used to the new world. My parents made a room for me in our basement and equipped it with special sensors that responded to my voice. There was everything I needed, and even more.
So now, I'm confused because the title is, My Mom Has Been Lying to Me for 10 Years That I'm Blind, until I found out the truth. This all seems pretty legit if you ask me. Apart from the sensor situation, I don't think that's been invented yet.
And also, Dad gave me a new dress every month. Although I did not see them, I felt the fabric, its texture, silk, velveteen, velvet, linen. That made me truly happy because I remained a girl who was pleased with attention and gifts. And also, I was pampered with the most delicious dishes. So over the years, I have become a real gourmet. If only I knew that it would not lead to anything good. And although all my whims were immediately fulfilled, no matter how I asked to go out, they did not listen to me. I begged, at least for half an hour, just stay in nature, walk on the grass and touch the flowers. It was my dream. But my parents over and over again said categorically no. If I were in the room above, not in the basement, I would try to escape. But here I had no chance. Moreover, the room was locked with 2 locks. I heard it by sound.
Is that legal? And also, so did the parents know she had this disease and that's why they foam wrapped everything and didn't let her outside? Or have they just figured this out? I feel like I have a lot of questions that they're leaving unanswered and we're almost halfway through. So if you could hurry up, please.
I got older, but nothing changed. The same gourmet food, new dresses every month, studying in the format of audio lessons. I was sure that I was ready to go out because I wouldn't sit in this basement until the end of my life. I turned 14 and I felt that it was time to get out into the big world, at least beyond that bunker.
Wait, so this took place since she was 4 to 14? Because she said her legs couldn't touch the floor of the swing, so she had to be pretty freaking... This was her 4th birthday! This has been 10 years that she's just been locked in the basement? That absolutely cannot be legal.
When I once again started this conversation with my mother, she became angry and replied that it was too dangerous on the street for a blind young girl. I decided to act differently and began to prepare an escape plan. All I needed was a key, but Mom was too careful and never left it in the room when she was gone.
I feel like if you can't see, that could be a little difficult.
Therefore, I persuaded my mother to stay with me. I said that for several days in a row I had bad dreams, and I want her to be near. Mom was touched by that, but I was ashamed to deceive her. But what would you do in my place?
I'd probably deceive her. Yeah, I'm not sure I would like someone who trapped me in the basement for 10 years.
When my mother fell asleep, firmly as usual, I got out of bed without problems, without waking her.
Also, I've never heard anyone describe a heavy sleeper as sleeping firmly. Just very firm.
And began to look for keys. I managed to find a bunch of keys with a massive keychain. There were several keys, and among them, one stood out, one very small. I immediately understood what it was for. Mom was sleeping nearby. I heard her breathing. My hands were trembling, but I managed to unlock the blindfold, and I immediately covered my mouth with my hands so as not to cry out. Although the room was dark enough, but I saw a glow from a small rectangular screen on the bedside table near the bed, and along the walls there was a soft light. I didn't have time to look through the rest. Even from such a weak amount of light, I felt a strong pressure in my eyes. I quickly snapped the blindfold. Since that day, my life has been divided into before and after.
Wait, if you're in darkness for literally 10 years and then you take the blindfold off, surely your eyes just stop working, right?
The plan was born in my head very quickly. I only needed a few days. Within 3 days, I will remove the blindfold so that my eyes could slowly get used to the light. And then I'll take my whole bunch of keys from my mother and get out of the room onto the street. First of all, I would try to get to the hospital myself and find out what was wrong with me. Was that a miraculous healing, or had my parents deceived me for all of my life?
Judging by the title, probably the latter. But I guess we'll never know. They have a tendency to string us along until the very end, which I love.
Only I knew how everything would turn out in reality.
I wish it would turn out with me having 4 million subscribers. I'm sorry.
In the first 3 days, everything really went according to the plan. Mom stayed with me at night, and I tried to get used to the weak light.
Whoa, that just defocused, and I was like, what the fuck's happening to my eyes?
I took the keychain, opened the door, and left the basement. I remembered well the location of everything in the house, and the heightened sense of space helped me quickly find the front door. I went outside for the first time in 10 years. It was still dark, and it was just the beginning of the dawn, but the first rays of the sun literally burned my eyes. It was an incredible pain. My eyes began to water heavily, but inside I rejoiced. It was an amazing moment.
Yes, my eyes are burning inside of my skull. This is amazing! I get it.
I went out of the gate without obstacles. The car drove. I saw a man, a middle-aged man in a bright red cap. This was the first real person after my parents that I saw in my life. I asked to be taken to the hospital. He took out a rectangular thing. There must be a phone that my mother told me about, and then dictated the address into it. I don't know how it happened, but I told him everything about childhood, a stupid swing, a blindfold, and my diagnosis, hepatitis. The man picked up the phone again. He said that he was connected to the internet, and with its help you can find out anything. He asked me to spell my diagnosis, and then he said that such a disease does not exist.
I told you. I said this. I'm pretty sure they just made this up. They made this. Yeah. Okay. Always ahead of the curve. What can I say? I'm a genius.
A police car arrived very soon. A tall man in the uniform asked my name and asked where I live. I started to cry. I could not return home right now. Another woman arrived, as I later found out, a psychologist, because I was a minor. We went to the police station. I could not even imagine what was waiting for me. I dictated the names of my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Blake's.
Firstly, who speaks like that?
I dictated the name of my parents.
Dictated? Aren't you 14? Who speaks like that?
I named their dates of birth. A few minutes later, I heard a policeman tell his partner that these people had never had children. He said that they tried to adopt a child 15 years ago, but they were refused because they were being treated in a psychiatric hospital. I could not believe what I heard. Would you believe it? I tried to cope with the shock, and then my parents came into the office.
The
I mean,
frick?
those people whom I considered so.
So they're kidnappers now? Imagine just thinking this is normal, and then like realizing you grew up with psychopaths your whole life who kidnapped you. That would be terrifying. On that note, have you seen the TikTok of the girl and the dates were all wrong? Like on her birth certificate and stuff, and she thinks she was kidnapped? What do you think of that?
He admitted everything. It turned out that they took me from the yard, from some large family from a neighboring state. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Mom and Dad cried and repeated that they loved me more than anything.
They just took her from the yard like a freaking stray dog? It's a child!
That they just wanted to protect me because my stroller stood for days in the yard and nobody cared. But the worst thing, as it turned out, was waiting for me ahead. A few days later, I was taken to my real parents. It would be better if that did not happen. My family was a couple of alcoholics who had 4 sons. And the worst thing was that they did not even remember that 15 years ago, they had a daughter. But no one put me on the threshold.
Doesn't work like that. You do like 9 months of having a human in you, pushing it out, going through all the pain, feeding it, and you just forget. I feel like that's just something you don't really forget. I mean,
They just didn't care. They drank all day long, and the children screamed, fought, asked for food and money.
They asked for food? Ugh, put them up for adoption.
Rare days when the mother nevertheless was cooking. The food was disgusting, but I had no choice. I was constantly hungry. There were no formal clothes. You won't believe it, but I already regretted that I don't have a blindfold because most of all, I would like to stop seeing this hell that was around. And of course, I really missed my mom and dad who raised me. They were strange, but they really loved me and were ready for anything for the sake of my happiness.
I mean, they were kidnappers, but it still doesn't explain why they convinced her that she's blind.
And these people are strangers to me. After several weeks of such a life, I complained to social services and I was sent to a shelter. That's where I am now. Yes, I know now what the internet is, what life with eyes is, but I understand that this is a crazy idea, but I agree to become blind again just to feel the love of other people. And what would you be willing to sacrifice?
I guess it did get to her head because she's also psychotic. Anyway, I hope you liked that. I'm not entirely sure I liked it, but I hope you liked it. That's it really. Please subscribe. I don't think this has made you want to subscribe. I'm gonna go away now. I'm gonna go play with my pet rats. Okay, bye.